Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hanging Out with Mad Mimi. We're here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So glad you could join us. My name is Mira, and I'm joined this week by Mrs. Kathy King, our award-winning sales expert, social media strategist, and pro blogger at On the Scene with Mrs. Kathy King. You can find her blog at www.mrskathyking.com, and we'll be talking to her in just a second, but I have a few Mad Mimi announcements first. We have a fabulous new feature coming where you can actually set trigger dates to send emails on people's birth dates or based on any date at all. And people have been requesting this for a while, and it's going to be live very soon, so that's really exciting. So stay tuned for more news on that. We also have a new blog post from our founder, Gary Levitt, so check that one out too. It's a nice Q&A with him about how he got into the tech startup space and about his feelings on the GoDaddy acquisition as well. So it's a good read, but just head over to blog.madmimi.com to check that out. And let's get going. Kathy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so pleased you could be here. Now, you are, so let's say On the Scene with Mrs. Kathy King is your blog, and it used to be called something else. Is that correct?
Yes, it was. It was called My Q Portiera.
My Q Portiera. Okay. Can you tell me about that name and about the switch between those two?
Okay. When I first started blogging, I started as a hobby. I had actually just lost my dream job, like the job that every advertising person wanted, and I knew that during that time period, I would need to change the way I lived because I went from a six-figure to a no-figure. So my husband told me to take up a hobby, and I figured, you know what? What's the best hobby in the world but learning how to save money? So I became so excited about, say, all these deals I was finding. So I then launched. My husband told me, okay, this is great. You either have to get a job or do something at that point. And I said, no, I'll blog. So I launched an online site that taught people how to save money and coupon. And it was a really great time because it was something away from what my background was.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we're going to get into your background in just a second, but I was wondering if you could also sort of give, so that was where you started. It was a hobby on teaching people how to save money. Can you tell me about where you are today and what On the Scene with Kathy King is?
Yes, when I started, of course, it was to save money. Fast forward, I ended up having a baby girl, and once I had the baby girl, that made me want to really decide what I wanted to do. Well, after looking over my whole site, I realized, wait a minute, is couponing? I've been sitting there promoting businesses this whole time. I thought I was taking a vacation from the whole advertising marketing, but the whole time I'm promoting people. So then, after a few blessings and things that happened in my life, I started doing some press junkets with Disney and other things. I decided, wait a minute, I'm going to relaunch the site and call it On the Scene with Mrs. Kathy King. And what On the Scene with Mrs. Kathy King is, it's a family-friendly lifestyle blog where we host giveaways, do product reviews, and we're also about to launch our new social gathering events. And what a social gathering event is it's an interactive and fun way for my fans to engage with different brands. And everything's customized. It's just a really enjoyable event.
Wow, that's really cool. So it was almost a natural progression then from from the coupon world into this sort of into the space that you're in now.
Yes, exactly.
That's very cool. Can you tell me about that transition that you made between hobby into business, and how that happened for you?
Honestly, when it was a hobby, I was actually making money because when you do couponing, you're able to do affiliate marketing, you're able to do sponsored posts. There's a lot of little things you can do. However, I wanted more structure. So the transition actually took longer than I expected because there was a lot of things I had to undergo. with moving from you're here at a coupon site and you're almost jumping across the waters to a whole new realm. And that was kind of nervous because first I was behind the scenes under Mikey Portera, and my transition included branding me, which took a lot of prayer, and it took a lot of just, okay, is this the direction? So I slowly built. The first thing I did was I started putting together what my packages would be, what I would do, how the new format would be. We don't really post coupons anymore, but we still post children deals, like specific deals. I started to, the more and more I'm getting into the transition, because we've just completed our transition with moving our whole site, our whole database to its new site, mrskathyking.com. But the transition took a lot of strategizing, organizing, and really focusing and meditating on what I really wanted. It was a great transition, but with any transition, you have to get adjusted. Some of the new things we do now is with our ranking. Just this morning, actually, we're going to be rolling out a page ranking, and what the ranking is going to be is our reviews are primarily done via video, and along with the video reviews, we're going to have a little summary below talking about product, different categories. What was the quality of the product? What was the cost? And does it need improvement? Because we feel that it's just a little bit, we want to provide our fans with a quicker guide for when they're researching products. Also, moving to video, that's been quite interesting. Moving to video reviews compared to written reviews. And when we started looking at all these things, that's when we're like, okay, we have to start charging for these things. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, a lot of bloggers, they won't want to charge. But when you look at, because of my background, I knew the value of what I was doing. And I think every business owner or blogger needs to know their value, and once they learn what their value is, then they feel more comfortable about the different rates they want to charge moving forward.
Do you feel that understanding your own value and what you bring to the table and what you offer was a part of that branding and of that deciding who you were and what you were gonna be when you changed your blog?
It was absolutely. Once I realized, when I lost the dream job, I had to do some soul searching. And the dream job losing it wasn't my fault. It was just the economy. It was a time period. So it's okay. That was God's will. I ended up having a beautiful daughter, and I have an awesome site. However, I could not move my company to where it is now until I understood who I was and what I brought to the table. And when I really started looking at my full career, that's when I'm like, wait a minute. Although I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm a working mom, and I have a fabulous background as well. My background wasn't baking cookies. I've been designing marketing campaigns for over 10 years. So the transition became more natural and real to me. Especially for me, because I'm branding myself, and that's when you start to brand yourself, you're putting yourself out there, and you're subjecting yourself to criticism, good and bad.
What do you find was the hardest part in that trying to understand what the value that you brought, and in deciding to charge people, and then all of this transition? What do you find was like the most challenging aspect of that?
What it is a challenging aspect right now is, I think you have to have confidence in yourself, and that's not all. I just pull out my resume. This may sound very egotistical, although I'm so not if you get to know me, but whenever I need a confidence boost, I pull out my sales awards and I read my resume and I dust myself off and say, okay. I think what you have to learn is making a decision and drawing a line in the sand. Do you want free stuff, or do you want to be a business? When you draw that line in the sand, you have to understand, because there's so many blogs that are actually a hobby, where businesses are going to think it's free, you have to realize some of them are not going to be a fit for you, and you begin to realize and be okay with God is going to bring you who you want. I'm a Christian blogger too, but I don't consider myself, my blog's not what you would be a Christian blog, but I do have a strong relationship, my own personal relationship. Therefore, when I realize I'm going to get whatever is meant for me and not worry about the no's, the no's is always a hard part. But when you look more towards the yeses and not focus so much on the no's, wonderful things start to happen. So with me, my rates may not be the most comparable rates, but I realize the people that are really meant to be on my site, the businesses that are a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for them, it's just going to be a natural relationship. And the ones that don't see my value, they really, if they can't see my value and they can't see what all my services do to bring to the table, then we're not a fit either way. And, you know, I actually refer them to several other blogs that are a fit for them.
That's really nice. I like that sort of collaborative approach, maybe, you know, and that you understand what you need, and if it's a fit, it's great, and if it's not, it's no hard feelings, you know, it's just, hey, move on.
Sometimes this past month while I'm working on my holiday gift guide, there's been some fabulous businesses that I've been able to meet. However, after I find out what their business needs are and where their business are going, I discovered that right now they may not be ready for the different services I have to offer, and something as simple as them just sending out a product and getting a free review on maybe a smaller site is just what they need just to get the ball rolling for them. So I'll refer them to people that I know that are reliable, that give good reviews. It's just, in a business, I feel that in a business and in your blog, when you start doing it for us, how can I put this? Sorry. I love my blog, but the fans and the businesses are who I service. And once you have a love for your fans and a true passion for the businesses that you're working with, then things work naturally, and you make decisions based on the betterment for them. There's some things I won't do if it's going to affect my overall fan base. There's some businesses I won't work with if they're not going to be a good fit for a fan. It doesn't matter if the product's wonderful and it costs $1,000. If I know that my fan base isn't a good fit for them and the fans aren't going to really catch on to the product, I won't do it, you know, because it just...
that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. Now let's say I have a blog that's a hobby and it's not a business yet. Can you give any advice to people who may be wondering about how to make that transition or interested in making that transition but they don't know how? Just any tips or something for somebody who does have a hobby blog and they're interested in maybe turning it into an actual business for themselves.
For bloggers that want to turn their blog into a business, this may sound just very simple and cliche, but my first thing would be is just do it. Pray about it and just do it. You will never get to where you want to be unless you make your first step. So some of your first steps could be putting together maybe a small package. This is what I do. This is how I do it. And this is what I'm offering. That's your first thing. And then from there, you turn that into a simple media kit. Once you do the media kit, then as you do this exercise, you'll start thinking, wait a minute, I can add this, I can add that to make it your fit. One thing that I do is I won't look at other blogs' media kits. It took me a year before I even looked at anyone else's media kits because I want to see what mine said, and I want to put together my own packages to be myself. Even now, I won't look at other blogs. I have tons of great friends that are bloggers, but I typically won't read their blog because I want to have my own original content, and I don't want to get hung up on following the pack. Because in any business or blog, originality, and blogging originality is very hard. I'm just going to be the fact. It's hard to be original. But if you stay away from looking at other people's stuff and you just focus on what you're doing, originality will automatically be there because you're not being clouded by things. Also, what are you passionate about? I'm passionate about entertaining people. I'm passionate about giveaways. I love doing giveaways. My social gathering events are live and they're entertaining, and I love doing the research to design these customized games for my fans to play so that they learn about the brands. I love doing that. That's my passion. When you want to turn your blog into a business, you have to follow your passion, because some days aren't happy. So if you're doing it just for money, then you're automatically going to get tired of it, especially if the money doesn't come quickly. But if you do it for your passion, then it helps. So say you're a crafter. What I would do is right now, while you're doing your crafting site, I would start specifically stashing away content so that within a year you can put together maybe an ebook and start promoting that. If you're a writer, I know a lot of writers that are bloggers. They now write for other agencies and they pitch articles that they write. The world of blogging is so widespread. Any blogger can turn what they're doing into a business. They just have to narrow it down to what they want to do. And that's sometimes hard. I'd also recommend them talking to other people that are successful at doing it so that they can do it. I'm always available. They can email me at Mrs. Kathy King any day, and I'd be happy to help, like truly help someone figure out what their passion is, because I think that us women collaborating and helping each other will make this community an even better place to be in.
Yeah, that collaboration, it's so interesting because there are the two sides of it. There's the collaborating, so we all want to help each other. This show, it's like we want to bring people on so that we can help everybody make their business better. And at the same time, you want to have something super original, that is unlike anything else out there. And so it is so important I think that comes from finding out what it is that you want to do and what it is that drives you.
Exactly.
So that it can be your original content.
Exactly.
So I was also wondering, you had mentioned that you recently were moving to video. And so can you tell me about that decision and how you thought about moving to video and why you decided to take that plunge?
I've always done video. I actually have a YouTube channel. However, I'm relaunching a new channel, which was kind of heartbreaking because I have a lot of fans at the old channel. But I've always done video, but I did it where I was behind the camera, and I would actually take my iPhone and someone would hold it over my shoulder as I did my reviews. So I have several video reviews, but when I decided to go to video, that was me actually getting in front of the camera, talking about the products, and doing reviews right there, or doing different lessons and just being more interactive through video. I decided to do that because I feel that for me, it's on the scene with Mrs. Kathy King. On the scene is a video. Also, I think that's where the world's going. So in addition to that, I even did research with my fans. I'm blessed to have fans that have been with me since I first launched in 2011. So I actually messaged them, and I asked them to message me, and I asked them what did they think. And with the changes, several of my fans like that now my review was in video rather than them having to read it. And they really enjoyed that. And sometimes when we're doing a giveaway, I'll do a video telling them about the giveaway. They said that it made me feel more like a person rather than just a blog they were reading. So I did, because of my background, I did do some beta testing and research. For a matter of fact, with the video, we were doing video in front, and we're now actually moving it to where I'll do an intro where it shows my face, but I like to get into the product. So now it shows my face, and then we'll do an over the shoulder thing, over the shoulder shot, because to where I can use my hands more, but I'm giving them a or intro of myself. The other thing with video is I actually upgraded my product or what I was using. Instead of using an iPhone, which iPhones are good, I'll still iPhone all the way, but now I have what they call a DSLR camera. That's a Nikon, and we're actually working on lighting and different things. I have an area dedicated just for the area I'm in right now is a room dedicated just for my recordings, which I consider a studio. And I also have to start scheduling my time too, to where I have studio days and non-studio days. It's a little bit more challenging, but the overall outcome I think will be better.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like most things at least are incorporating some kind of video content. It's so much more digestible, I think, for people. We have people ask us for video how-tos all the time. Is there a video tutorial? Is there a video tutorial?
I just did a fun thing for Neutrogena. They sent me. It was a campaign they were running for how to do a selfie, how to teach your son how to help your kids with their acne issues, right? Your teens with acne issues by Neutrogena. That's not the full disclaimer. That's not the full name of the campaign, but I can't think of it from the top of my head. Well, anyway, with this Neutrogena campaign, instead of doing a typical review, I actually did a video on 3 steps to helping your teen with their acne. And it's kind of a how-to video using the Neutrogena products. And I was just so happy with this. I'm like, okay, now I want to do this for all my products. But you can't always do that. It's always...
It does seem like it's more time-consuming than, typical review.
Video is more time-consuming. But because my verbal communication skills are much better than sometimes I've written, and it's easier for me to communicate. I'm just a people person, so that's why video's better for me, considering my background.
Now, you said you did a lot of testing and research on videos when you were, making that switch or just in that process. Can you tell us about what kind of actual research you did and how you established or how you assessed that?
Well, the first thing I did was I talked to some experts in the industry. My background's marketing. I have over 15 years of marketing, and my husband is a graphic designer. Therefore, our circle of friends tends to be we have 2 or 3 friends that are video photographers, and one of our very close friends, he has a studio, green wall, the whole bit. And I went to him, and we've been talking about 2 years about me doing video, and slowly but surely, whenever I had a question, I say, Dan, how do you do this? Or Dan, what do you think about that? And he would send me links if he was too busy, or he would give me just a basis to go through, and I would go online and research and read. I've also watched some videos, and I looked at other people. This was the first time that I actually looked at other YouTube reviewers just to see how they did their reviews and what they did, so that I could just kind of get a feel of how to do the video. Because in this realm, I was very new at it, and I just want to do good work. So I researched other YouTube videos just to see some of the things that they did, what I liked, what I disliked. Not me wanting to copy them, just me analyzing each video for each pros and cons. I did a lot of research on the products that we're using, and we even have some things on our wish list because we still have to get more lighting and things in our own studio. But with the camera, I think we researched the camera for about a month, 2 months before we bought the camera. Because we weren't looking at price, we were looking at the quality. not the price of the camera, and it did cost me the camera I used, but by the grace of God, I was put in a position to be able to get it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you'll see. I mean, you spent so much time deciding to do this, and it sounds like it's something that you really enjoy, which is to your instructions of do what you're passionate about. So, it should be all good for the video that you're making.
And you have to, and you mentioned early on, when you're transitioning from blog hobby to blog business, confidence is key, and you have to know in your heart that you're worth it. Like you said, I'm an award-winning sales rep. I was in advertising sales for over 10 years. I have actually 3 sales awards and 2 different marketing awards for when I had my own marketing firm. And in that marketing firm, me and my team won 2 different awards. So under my belt, I have 5 different awards. Honestly, sometimes I'll send out a rate to someone and let them know these are my prices, and if they turn me down, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because I'm worth it. I'm not, just saying pay me this. My background, it states she has the word. If someone was hiring me, they'd have to pay me close to $80,000 or $90,000 a year to work for them on a sales channel, because that's what I was making at AT&T. When I worked. Sorry, I said that name out loud. But I was an interactive account executive for AT&T. I worked for Verizon, and then I worked for another major company. So when I'm dealing with a brand, I'm not just dealing with them on, hey, you have something cool. I want it just because it's cool. It's, hey, I'm looking at how I'm going to strategically market your whole product to my fan base. Why? Because I have a background in marketing. Marketing wasn't just a hobby for me. I know about reading stats. I was actually looking at my Neutrogena campaign today, looking at the different stats and how the conversions and things were, and the entries it was a giveaway that we did, how the entries were. Pizza Hut, when I did things for them. So
yeah, and I think also, I mean, you have a stellar background, which is, and I think that definitely serves you well in what you're doing. And I think, although I think that even without marketing in your background, I think that's still a good idea to know what you're worth, to know that you are worth it. Not just what you're worth, but that you are worth it. That, you assess your background, but also know what you're good at, and put together, your description of who you are and what you're good at and why you're worth it, and then just trust that.
Exactly. I know some bloggers that have never worked in marketing at all. There's some awesome, amazing giveaway sites that I know personally that have never worked a day in marketing, but their giveaway sites are off the charts. I still follow those sites. I will recommend those sites. And I personally know some of the people. They just had a work ethic. Some of the bloggers that I know, they have an amazing work ethic, and their passion was doing giveaways, or their passion. So it's always your passion, and once you know what you're worth, like you said, your worth, you can spin it any way that you want to spin it. Look at what you do that sets you apart from everyone else, because everyone can find one thing that they do that's different from any other person in our industry.
Absolutely.
And that's very simple. So don't get me wrong, everyone. It's not just like, well, I'm so awarding. It's just that's how I spin it for myself. Everyone has to create their own sales pitch once they determine. One of the most simplest things that you can do is your blog's reach. Currently, I have about my total reach. I'm talking about my page views, my social media, and my email list. My total reach is 70,000. When you're looking at it from just an advertising perspective, when a person puts together their rates and looks at their overall reach, they can spend that all day. because if you have a reach of 50,000 total, 50,000 is always a good number. And what I mean by 50,000 is when you total your Facebook numbers, your Pinterest, your email database, your monthly page views, that becomes your total reach. Once you get your total reach, then you can pitch on that all day.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can be original, but numbers are numbers, especially when it comes to advertising. Because with blogging, especially in the product review world, it's all about marketing and advertising. So say you have maybe a total reach of 20,000, you may not be able to charge 150. Although I know some bloggers that do, but I don't know how many yeses they get. Some get great yeses, some get a lot of no's. But then I know other bloggers that do things like gift guides and different things like that, and they're smaller, and they may only charge $10. Why? Because once you put a price on anything, it means it has a value. Anyone can do anything for free. It's easy for a company to send out free products. That's a total write-off for them. If they send out 10,000 pieces in a year, that's just a write-off. They don't have anything invested in it except for their product. However, even if you put $5, my reviews are $5, that makes them have to put a value on you, because now they're not just shipping products, they're having to actually PayPal you or write a check. So for the smaller bloggers, I would just start with something as simple as $5 or $10 fee for what you're doing, just to build that confidence. And as that confidence starts building, and as your site starts to build, you charge more and more. The bloggers that are a little bit more established, that never went to charging, that's just you having to decide, hey, I'm going to draw this line in the sand. I will only work for things that I'm getting paid for, unless it's really cool. I know some people, some major bloggers, that they still take free products sometimes, but it's only if they really, really like it, and they start to really measure and look at what they're doing for free and what they're charging for.
Right, and that would probably come after you have some more experience, with charging and and with growing your audience and growing your reach as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so we're almost out of time, but not quite. And I was wondering if I could ask you some more concrete, specific questions about what you do, for your blog and in your business. Besides video, because I can tell that you really love video, which I do. I think that's why we're here. Video. But besides video, I was wondering if you had you have a favorite tool that you use either in your business, on your blog. It can be anything. Wide open question. But a specific tool that you love to use that you feel is a really good thing to point people to.
You know what? To everyone listening to this, I'm really trying not to be biased, but one of my favorite tools is my email. Like building that list. I did not realize the value of my email list until this year. Well, until Facebook and everyone started changing the way we do business. Then, even though everyone told me your email list is important, I didn't understand the value. So with Mad Mini, I feel like I have more of a connection with my email list than I do with my fans, because I'll be honest, I send out one email blast through my Mad Mini account, and I may have 100 to 200 people look at that, compared to when you post a status, you have to post the status a few times to get the same reach, just because of some of the limitations that people like Facebook have put on you. Also, Mad Mini is very simple for me to use, so that's one tool that I love using. For my giveaways, I still like using Giveaway Tool. So that's a tool that I love using for my giveaways is Giveaway Tool. I think it's simpler than a lot of the other ones as well.
What is Giveaway Tool? Can you just describe it a little bit for us?
Giveaway tool is a widget that you use to run your promotions on, and it's a free product that you can use to run to include your Facebook entries and Twitter entries and things like that. You have other people like Rafflecopter, which most people are probably familiar with Rafflecopter. However, Giveaway Tools is very customizable. You can customize it to your site's colors, and it's very simple to include different entries, and it's for free. So that's why I love using Giveaway Tool. And their customer service is great too.
Great, awesome. And then I know that you have been with us here at Mad Mimi for a while, and so I was wondering if you had any specific tips or tricks that you use while you use Mad Mimi for your blog specifically that you could share with anybody watching.
Okay, when I've been with Mad Mini for about 2 or 3 years, and well, yeah, two or 3 years. I first started off with you guys. I tried some of the other product lines, but they were just too hard to use, and I never really got into designing or even sending out emails or even building my list because the other products were just really too hard for me to understand and use. And I have a little bit of graphics background because my hubby's in graphic design, but even with him, it took him too long to design a template and things like that. So with Mad Mini, we were easily set up. When I first started my account, I was set up with my first template within like a few minutes, and it was just very easy to use. Now, one of the tricks that I just discovered, I just launched a members-only newsletter that is called the Giveaway Lounge, and the Giveaway Lounge sends out bonus codes and things like that. One of the things that is really cool about Mad Mini is that I can go into my WordPress, write up my email, and then just take the HTML and paste it into Mad Mini, and there's my email newsletter right there. And that's just one of the best tricks. Like, once I learned that, probably this year is when I figured that out. I was like, this is awesome. It makes it so much easier than how I was doing it before, especially since I'm already used to using WordPress. So I just go in, write up my email, lay it out the way I want it, switch over to the text part in WordPress, copy the HTML, go into Mad Mini, create a new newsletter. I usually get the text box, plug it in, and it's right there.
No, that's a cool trick for getting some custom HTML that you don't have to actually write yourself.
So the images too. Images and everything are just right there. I don't always use images, but images and everything is right there, and I can get it done so much faster. Especially with the Giveaway Lounge is something that's more custom because it goes out whenever my fans, whenever we have a new giveaway is the only time, or when we're having an event is the only time that newsletter goes out. The other thing that I like about Mad Mini is setting up my RSS feed on it as well, which I learned a lot of people like to send out their newsletters every day. I learned quickly that my fan base doesn't like getting my newsletter every day, so now we send out ours about every 2 or 3 days. I switch it up based on how active we are at the time.
Yeah, and that's another thing that, test, and you know your audience, and so you discovered that not every day is right for them. For some audiences, it absolutely is right. They want an email every day, but you're the one who would know that about your audience. So
I learned. Yeah. For some people, it's every day. But I learned that my particular audience, you kind of catch on when you see spam in your statistics. That's when you kind of say, well, maybe they don't want to talk to me every night. But I'm also very active on all my social medias, too. So for me, I don't need to send out my email newsletter every day because I talk to my fans every day. I'm on Twitter every day. Or Facebook every day as well.
We were talking earlier about the different strategies because there are some people who rely only on their email and then they let their social followings grow from there. But you have almost an opposite approach where email is being added on to an already existing strategy that is growing.
Exactly, but my goal for 2015 is that I'm really going to start focusing on building my email list. Even now, people signing up for the giveaway lounge is at the very beginning. I know some people that they only ask for emails as an entry when they're doing giveaways, but those same people have a larger following all the way around than I do. For me, I still have to integrate them all together. But email for me is no longer a stepchild. It's one of my children. So it's part of every single campaign that I do. Your list is very...
So can you tell? One last question. You mentioned that you're really going to be focusing on building that in 2015, and so I was wondering if you had any specific strategies for approaching that already, or if you were just going to casually figure it out.
Yeah, because I'm kind of a casual girl. Although I'm very organized. The more organized I am, the more I get accomplished in my business. So that's why I personally have to stay organized on everything, because that's what keeps me focused. However, what my goal is I'm probably going to start telling people more, check out the giveaway lounge, sign up for the giveaway lounge in our social posts. On my site, even right now on my site at the very top of the header, I have a picture where I'm like this or something, and where my hand is a circle. And where my hand is, there's a circle straight to my email newsletter. So I make that very dominant and clear for people to sign up for my newsletter. One of my more drastic changes that I'm kind of gradually moving to is only changing my giveaways to where instead of having, right now I have about 20 different entry choices, I'm slowly looking at each entry choice and deleting what's not that important to my site's overall growth so that we can keep it to about 5 to 10 entry choices, and the top one being email. We're also going to, in 2015, maybe only have an email-only entries once a month, to where specific giveaways will only be via email entry. Mm-hmm. And we're planning on building, but you have to build the list first before. It's a lot of things I have in my head that I want to do, but I have to have a larger list first before I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that email growth, that list growth is something we're all about too. So there are tons of integrations that we have and different strategies that are about focusing on building that list. So if anyone else is interested, just email us.
Yeah, I feel like Mad Mini, one of the best things that happened to me is when I first started with Mad Mini, I took a list that was about 6 months old that I hadn't marketed to, and I inputted it into the system. Well, this is my personal story. Well, I put that list in and I marketed it, and because people forgot about me because I hadn't reached out to them in 6 months, I received a bunch of spam. Mm-hmm. So Mad Mini's owners at the time emailed me and said, hey, we have to, what's going on here? Very nice, very sweet, wasn't jerked at all. And I told them what happened, and they explained to me, you haven't done it for 6 months, so why don't you do this? Why don't you delete that whole email list out, which was hard. I had about 3,000 emails names, but the owners talked to me in such a kind and helpful way and said, hey, we know this is a list you've built for years, but you haven't reached out to it for 6 months, and that means it's really not that viable anymore. How about you start from scratch? A lot of people would have said, are you crazy? And they would have left and went to another service. But because the owner, I think Chris, is that correct?
And Gary.
Gary, because Gary was so, sorry, Gary, I know who you are, but because he was so kind and helpful in helping me make the decision, I trusted his expertise, and I started from scratch, you know. And guess what? I don't have 3,000 names right now. A little bit is because I didn't focus as much, but I have an email list that's a viable list that actually clicks on and comes through, and it was the best choice I've ever made.
And that's so much more valuable than a list
Mm-hmm.
that is marking as spam. You know, I mean, you can grow a list from an active list, but you kind of have a dead end if the list is not doing anything.
Exactly. And it's so much easier for people to click the spam. So you really, when you're growing your email list, be very strategic on what that list is going to be for. So for instance, my email list right now, I have two. I have my RSS feed, which just keeps people up to date with what's going on my site. And that's what we send out every 2 or 3 days. And then now we have a specific giveaways list. And that giveaway list is going to be just for our announcing our social gathering events. Sometimes when we have those events, there's some information that fans have to sign up for prior to the event. So that's all going to be ran through our email list. As we grow, there will be some products and services that we will sell. However, those will be put at the bottom of our list so that our fans still feel like they're doing the giveaways. But if there's anything that we're selling, those will be advertisements below all the other content so that they don't feel like, wait a minute, you're selling to me now. You're not giving me what you need. And that's very important. If you've already built an audience and if your audience is already used to something, when you want to integrate something new, you have to do it very slowly. So if you have a members-only thing where you're offering free, something free to them, and you're doing this for a year, and all of a sudden you want to charge them, my recommendation from a business background is to never send out an email saying pay for this if your following is used to the freebies. I would put maybe 2 or 3 freebies at the top of that email, and then say we're also offering this now, instead of just totally doing a 100-degree turn for what you were doing.
Absolutely. I think, you know, that consistency and the expectation of your audience for what they're going to receive is so important, as well as your specific segmentation that you mentioned. I mean, it's so important to be sending or to have people sign up for specific things, and then you can send them specific things, you know, and you can have a different list where you send them different things, and people can be on multiple lists. But if you have segmentation in place, then you're able to specifically talk to those people in a way that they are expecting you to talk to them.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Kathy? I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I want to let any blogger know that no matter what, no matter where they're at in their blog, no matter what they're doing or what they love and what their passion is, they can always convert what they're doing into a business. Always. It just sometimes takes some time and takes, you know, time and the will to get there and belief in yourself. You know, no matter if someone tells you you're not good enough or your blog will never work or you're just too small, don't pay attention to the naysayers. Just focus on what you know is right in your heart. Follow your inner self, and that inner self will lead you. I know that sounds really cliche, but I've always wanted to brand myself from the day I first started, and I kind of wanted to name it Miss Kathy King. But at the time, I was getting away from advertising, and I just wanted a hobby. So that's why I decided to use the marketing agency approach and name it My Keyportiera, which was My Coupon Concierge. And that's what my instinct was. But now, because I'm very in tune with what myself, it was very easy, even when people have laughed at the idea. But you have to focus on what you want, not what other people say. And that usually accomplishes the best.
Excellent advice. And if you have any questions about blogs or you want to reach out, you can email Kathy at me@mrskathyking.com. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Her blog is at mrskathyking.com. This has been Hanging Out with Mad Mimi. I'm Mira, and if you have any questions about Mad Mimi, please email me at mira@madmimi.com, and join us next week at 4 o'clock for Hanging Out with Mad Mimi. Our episodes are also always available on YouTube, so you can check them out there as well. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.